doesn't mean I'm way too tired to fight with you. I'll give in, you win, you win.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, bringing in tonight's special edition, Feed the Wolf by the Labert remix. Love this song on this great Saturn day. Everybody parties on Saturday. Not here. This is my version of partying. But welcome out, everybody, to a very special edition of Let's Talk About Pluto. It should be Pluto, Hades, and then, as you see above my head, it actually is Prometheus. That's right. Pluto is Hades in the Greek, and that came from Prometheus, or Prometheum, which is element number 61 on the periodic table, and that's going to be the Page of Swords card 61. Page of Swords in numerology equals the number 57. The Truman Show equals 57. And so, ladies and gentlemen, this upcoming presentation that I will have on Prometheus is, I've been saying this a lot over and over every decode I've been doing lately, that this one's going to be it, this one's going to be it, this one's going to be it. And man, let me tell you, this decode that I have coming out is just, I'm just speechless, honestly, of the material that has that it brought me to. The things that I've been doing, the things that I have found, just have completely like mind-blowing stuff. And it has led me down to this path of finding perhaps my reincarnation vessel, which is a gentleman by the name of Percival Loyal, born in Boston, Massachusetts, not too far of where I'm from in Connecticut. I'm born right just outside the Massachusetts line. Boston was like a 30-minute drive. And his death date to my birthday, I'm going to show you the connections to Prometheus. And I ended up last night, watching the 2012 Ridley Scott Prometheus movie to see if I could get some clues. And I did, especially the engineers they used for that movie. The engineer being in the beginning, if you saw that, was the humanoid that was by the waterfall. It drank the black fluid, and of course it ended up dropping into the water. And that, the story goes, that's how we all got here, through the Genesis, and then you can tie that into theology, et cetera, et cetera. But really what I'm here to do tonight is to show you, I'm going to show you the astrological map of the discovery of Pluto / Hades, et cetera, et cetera. In 1930, I'm going to show you the guy that discovered it and his birthday and the connections I have to that gentleman. And then the lady Elizabeth, who did the mathematics to lead to the discovery of Pluto, where she was born, again, connected to me. It's just so, this is so uncanny, the information that I found, that I'm besides myself, honestly. So I'm really grateful that all of you are here to support this great research. And I have my cards in front of me, my tarot cards. I'm going to try to get through as much as I can. I'm not going to go for 4 hours, I don't think. I do have some slides. I'll be showing you a preview, a sneak peek of the upcoming presentation. I haven't decided yet on what I want to call it: Pluto, Hades, Prometheus, whatever. But really, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you right now, astrologically, this is what I'm being led towards, is that how big Pluto is in your birth chart, in your astrological chart. Pluto is definitely going to possibly, I shouldn't say definitely, it is a very good possibility that Pluto represents the fallen angel story. It represents the aliens and the ancient aliens, if you're into that kind of stuff, how we all got here, the discovery of mankind, our, all the lineages of what we've all been shown and told, et cetera, et cetera. But it seems to be that Pluto has a job to do. And I can tell you right now, just starting this thing off, to give you a big heads up on how this whole entire reality works, because we live in an ecosystem, okay? And it is a self-contained ecosystem. And the ecosystem that we live in survives off of two mechanics. Number one, is death, and the other one is regeneration or life. That is what keeps this reality going. Death and life. And so we have the sun, which causes photosynthesis, which causes growth to happen from the ground. And then we have its opposite and necessary adversary. We have death. And I have some slides to show you folks. I mean, it all comes down to how this reality works. Hades, Pluto, Prometheus, the ground you walk on, that gives you life. And in theology, in Genesis 2 verses 7, if you fancy theology, it said God breathed in from the dirt. Okay, so the dirt beneath your feet, the soil, which is organic matter, it's all dead things. That you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that, that whole platform on the world stage. We would not be here. That's where your food comes from. Whether you're going to be plant-based, whether you're going to be vegan, vegetarian, omnivore, carnivore, everything survives off of the ground, and that is ruled by Pluto. The god of the underworld is ruled by Pluto for a very specific reason. And it has a partnership with the sun. So my research has led me to the fact that the sun would be the I and the am would be earth. The I am. And they have a contract. The sun needs the earth for the plants to grow. They need a foundation. That's the domain of Pluto, Hades, Prometheus. All living matter comes from the ground, earth. And ladies and gentlemen, we could even say, honestly, that earth is Pluto. And I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to confidently say, at this level of my understanding, earth is, without a shadow of a doubt, the black sun. It does not give off any of its own light. It is the black sun. And if you think about the black sheep in the family, the black sun, it's tied to Lucifer. And the king of this domain, in this realm, so to speak, is going to be a 50-50 partnership between life, which is the sun, and death. You cannot have one without the other. One day, you are going to die. And where will you go when you die? Well, we don't know what happens to the spirit. That is all theoretical. What I do know, with a 1+1, with the discovery of Pluto in 1930 in Flagstaff, Arizona, I'm going to blow you away like you've never been blown away before if you're a fan of astrology. So some of the cards that are associated in the tarot with Pluto, Hades, Prometheus. And yes, it is. Someone asked the question, is it tied to Shiva? 1000%. Shiva is Lucifer. Shiva is Hades. Shiva is Prometheus. And it's Shiva and Shakti, actually, because that's going to be your Ida and Pingala, which is the Kundalini that runs through the spirit of you and the ground that you walk on. That's why when you see a plant and it shoots and it usually has 2 leaves come out, that's your dualistic nature in plants. You can even bring it into theology and the Cain and Abel story. Obviously, the match to Pluto, Hades, Prometheus, the underworld would be Cain, because Cain offered fruits and vegetables. What is the ground usually harvest? Fruits and vegetables, plants. But then, of course, you have the animals that eat those. We have human beings that eat those. And then they die and return to the soil. And this is required for death and regeneration in this reality. The soil is organic matter. The earth's crust, organic matter. And a lot of the elements on the periodic table, which is why they fit into the decoding world, and a lot of great decoders have been using these elements, tying it to numerology, it's because we're made up of a lot of these elements because they're in the earth's crust and the atmosphere and the soil that things are grown from. So when it comes to Shiva and the job of Shiva, who in Hinduism is like the Almighty, because it's the ruler. It's really, I'm not going to say it's the ruler of Earth. It's the co-ruler of Earth. And the job of Shiva is to wipe the board clean, which is it linking it to plutonium. Plutonium made for thermonuclear detonations. So 16 is Shiva in numerology. Here's the 16th card. I got it right on the wall to the left of me, the Tower card. And then to the right of me, I have the 3 of clubs. That's card number 16. If you're a fan of the show Alice in Borderland on Netflix, big shout out to them. They clearly showed the game master card was the 3 of clubs. That is tied to Lucifer. Thomas John Ellis, the actor that they casted to play Lucifer on the Netflix hit show, his birth card is that 3 of clubs on the wall to my right. Card number 16. And ladies and gentlemen, why that Lucifer is tied to the devil, and because you see, the ground that you walk on will eventually get you. It's going to get a piece of you, because we don't know what happens to spirit, but we know what happens to the physical body when you're 6 feet under. Remember, think about that. You go, why are you buried 6 feet under the ground? Well, what's tied to the number 6? Virgo the Virgin. We're all born of virgins in astrology, number 1. 6 in mathematics is the first perfect number. 6 is tied to the element carbon, which is the king of all elements. It's the 666 element. That is why you're buried 6 feet under. I'm sure that's one of the reasons why. And you decompose, and decomposition it goes back to the organic soil. That's where you will go back to. We don't know what happens with the spirit. That is all theoretical. I like talking about that stuff, of course. Spirit is 19, the sun is the 19th card. Soul is 19, the 19th card is the sun card. So is this where we go back to? My decode that I did on 42 decoded, which was, now I know how big it was for me personally. It's tied to the words in numerology, natural order. Natural order equals 42 in numerology. Life, the universe, everything in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, 42. The element calcium, which is on our bones and teeth, has an atomic mass of 42. It's the 20th element tied to the word duality, tied to the word birthday, which is what we all have. So these are all markers to tell us that death is a part of life, and you will face it one day. And that's all we know about this game. That's it. We don't know anything beyond this, beyond the theoretical opinions that people present. I don't care if you have an out-of-body experience or a near-death experience. You can't prove that that's going to be a fact in people's lives. It is a theory of what you saw. I see a lot of things in my dreams, but they don't come true. But what I do see is people at funerals. I do see people being put in the ground. I've been to a funeral. I've been to funerals before, and so have you. Of one day you will be led there. You will be in the graveyard one day, and you will feed the Hades, the underworld, which is where all the fossil fuels are at. If you drive a car right now, you put gas in it. Well, that gas is made from petroleum, which is fossil fuels, which is dead matter that decomposed. Skeletons. Bodies, skin, organisms, that's all organic matter, and it's all an ecosystem of death and regeneration, ladies and gentlemen. So Pluto has a contract with the as above, which is the sun. And I would say, if you want to break it down and use the analogy of Jesus and his twin brother Thomas, which is Lucifer, Thomas would rule the underworld, which is the earth, and then Jesus would rule the white sun and be the as above. You have white sun and black sun. And this is when people say, well, they sold their soul. Well, you could theoretically break that down anyhow. You see, the whole scripture, if you bring theology, the only scripture in Isaiah, in the Old Testament that talks about Lucifer, the only one, Isaiah 14 verses 12, it's tied to plutonium, which is death and regeneration. And it says, weaken the nations. You know what that means? Weaken the nations through your ego, through your desires. When you eat food, ladies and gentlemen, the food that grows from the ground, every time you put something in your mouth, you decay that much more. When you eat food, it makes you decay more because all the organs that involve digestion have to move. And when things move, they cause friction. And when friction happens, it breaks down. That's what happens to your engine. That's why you got to change the oil you're suggested to change the oil every 3,000 miles. So the food that you eat, the things that you consume, that your desires that you want to create on this reality are the energies of the underworld, are the energies of the plutonium domain, which is where the black sun is all about. The earth is the black sun. And it's longitudinally, it runs east to west. And then the white sun would run the domain of north to south. And then you have the latitude. And these are important markers for determining where somebody's born on a map. I'm going to show you the reincarnation of myself I'm going to support it through showing you latitude, longitude of my birth city, the guy who I feel like I reincarnated from, the whole 9 yards. I'm going to break it down all for you. But ladies and gentlemen, Prometheus in the Greek is 48. Here's the 48th card in the tarot. It's the Knight of Cups. This card I showed in my Two Thieves Decoded, another really, really important one to watch. This right here forms and makes up one of the 5 cards that make up the cross that people make on their bodies or their forehead. The cross is a box folded up or unfolded, as most of you know. Well, this right here is tied to the golden ratio. And this card in the tarot, the description of it, the narration, the expression is looking for love. And that's the whole story of the fallen angel story, is that they were looking for love. They're looking to hump. They're looking to chase ass. That's what the whole thing's about. Well, what do you think this whole reality is all about? If you're male, you're chasing the female. If you're female, you're chasing the male. This entire reality is based on procreation. Prometheus, procreation. Pro this, pro that. It means to multiply, just as it says in Genesis. Go and multiply. You see, if there's no people on the board, there's no death in the sense of human beings. And human beings, of course, at the top of the food chain, they're going to cause more death by eating the plants, by killing the animals and eating them, however you want to slice it or dice it. The job of Pluto / Hades / Prometheus has a contract, and the job is to fulfill the obligation of the ecosystem. And I'm going to support it like probably, and I'm not sitting here to try to toot my own horn. I'm just trying to tell you how important this information is. I'm going to show you through the layers I normally use for my methodology. I'm going to support it like I've never supported a decode before. Out of all the 400 plus videos I have, this one will be the very top tier of research because it is the most in tune and most accurate I've ever done. And of course, Pluto's dominant in my chart. I have it in my 12th house. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so I'll be looking over here occasionally because here's where my comments are coming in on my on my right side here. So before I jump into the presentation, ladies and gentlemen, remember what I'm telling you from the very beginning. These are my opinions and truths, like always. And I will ask you to use critical thinking. I will ask you to be skeptical about what I'm saying here. Some of the things that I will be showing you may not make sense because but just because they don't make sense doesn't mean that they don't have merit. If you're somebody who's studying algebra and you go sit on a class that's showing trigonometry, or you're with a professor that's showing you formulas for trigonometry, just because you don't understand the formulas doesn't mean they're not accurate and have merit. When you're going to start to see is when you synchronize all these layers: tarot, numerology, astrology, theology, cards of illumination, alchemy, magic, they all start to form a bridge and they collapse together into one. And ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful, harmonious dance that all these layers have. And there's nothing evil about it. The only thing evil about it is if you say that's what it is. What you say goes. But I'm going to tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, my research, other than the sun, the sun is involving your spirit and your astrological chart. Well, where's your Pluto? And then you got to figure out exactly what lens to look through, what your Pluto's designed to do. Pluto is, the wrecking ball, that's Shiva. and it's designed to tear things apart, of course, because remember, it's hungry. These celestials, imagine they're archetypes and they want food. And the only way they can get fed is by energetic exchange. And that obviously through the underworld and the soil, the organic matter, it needs your physical body. And it needs your physical energy through the egos and desires. That's classically known as Lucifer / people say Satan, whatever, which is also a representation of time. So you can break it down and, I went through Prometheus, the movie last night. It led me to what Ridley Scott was basing the movie off of, which was a lot of Aztec and Greco-Roman stuff. And then, of course, he brought John Milton's book, Paradise Lost. I started to decode that. It's all part of the script, folks. It's all written into the fabric of our reality. And it was already written before we all got here. We're just now getting to around, the now moment is where we're expressing all these things. But there's nothing to fear because, again, ladies and gentlemen, you got to face the fact that one day you will die and you will feed Pluto. You will feed the underworld. And it just may be that's the exit strategy. I mean, I'm going to be doing another podcast with Ola. I had a lot of people that really liked Ola and her, her expressions and whatnot, Ola only. And she's, her opinion is you got to go through the underworld to get to the other side, if there is such a thing. But that's a theoretical position. But if you place the torus field over and you put the Earth in the middle, you're going to have the rings that move like this. Or they move like this. It's going to be one or the other. It's going to be either going down and coming back up, or it's going to be coming up and moving back through the bottom half. I say it's going to be moving from the bottom because everything goes down that's, through the aspects of gravity, whether that's real or not. Through what we know how it works, things drop, they go down, and then they come back up again, and it feeds the top. And I feel like we live in an hourglass. And when the sands run out, what happens if you have an egg timer and the sands run out, you flip it back over. So the bottom becomes the top. And I feel like this is where Jesus says the first will be last and the last will be first. Because you're going to flip that egg timer. Once all the sands drain down, and these are, of course, going to be representing the ages of astrology. Once the sands run all the way down, you got to flip that thing back over. That's going to represent the polarities, the pole shift. This is all happening right now. And it's all part of changing the ages. And there's nothing to fear. Because it's inevitable one day you will die. One day, everybody here will die. And that's just how it is, ladies and there's no escaping that. So you might as well make the most of this reality and what it's all about. Instead of complaining, bickering, bitching, thinking that, everybody has a part in this reality and not everybody incarnated to be a good guy. Sorry to tell you, sorry to break it. No, I'm not sorry. That's the way it is. Go look at this reality. People have positions to do. Not everybody comes into this reality to be the good guy, to be the good girl. If that was the case, life would be absolutely boring. There would be no challenges in life there. Okay. So let's get into some of these breakdowns here. Okay. Let me share my screen and let's run to this. Let me get my cursor out. Okay, it's not working. Great. Hold on, folks. Let me just make my cursor bigger. Okay. All right, here we go. So I'm going to start off with this right here. I hope you're taking notes. Pay attention, ladies and gentlemen. I have hours and hours and hours and hours of decoding this Pluto, Hades, Prometheus. I think it's the most important information I have ever put out thus far. And I'm going to show you the reincarnation process using myself as the example. I had no intentions of doing that. That's just the way it unfolded. But what you're looking at right here, do we have is it a life sentence? This is what people get to go to prison. They get a life sentence. You notice the word sentence is 35, the word simulation is 35. And then life is tied to the word matrix. Angel is 17, using just Chaldean. The life 17 is the star card. 35 is the 9 of diamonds, which puts you on the television screen. You're on television. And it's very possible, ladies and gentlemen, you're never getting out of this game. I know that's pretty horrific for some of you because some of you can't stand the game, but I would just say make peace and be grateful and analyze your life and maybe take a different look, a different approach of how your life's all about right now. I used to be in that position, and I changed, and my whole life changed, and now I live a life of gratitude. We don't know what's going to happen after this. All we can do is now enjoy the journey right here. But you can clearly see that life sentence is 52, which matches prison planet, which is 52. The 52nd element is tellurium, which is comes from the Latin word tellus, which means earth. Tellurium is 34. And I'm going to be showing some information on that 34 during my decode of this right here. 34 tied to selenium. Remember, selenium's in the soil. Selenium's tied to the moon, et cetera, et cetera. Here we go. We'll bring some theology into this. And this is a very important piece of Judaism, Christianity, et cetera, et cetera. This is Genesis. Genesis meaning the seed. Where do you plant seeds? In the ground. Genesis 2 verses 7. And it says, God formed man of the dust of the ground. See, if there was no ground, you wouldn't be here through this context. And you see it's a 22. And right then and there, ladies and gentlemen, we bring alchemy into it. And there you go. Shazam, it's the Titans. This is the icon chosen for titanium because this is the sons and daughters of Earth, of Gaia, which is what you and I are all about. And you get the 47 tied to the tetragrammaton, et cetera, et cetera. When you go 22 digits into the golden ratio, you're going to get that 114, and that's going to be tied to the 49th element, as well as titanium. Titanium also has another atomic mass of 49, but indium means going down in the hole. Matter of fact, the release date of Prometheus, the first one in Paris, was on April 11th. There it is. The second one in the United States, June 1st. That's 61. That's Prometheum. Pretty obvious there. So here's really where it links to Prometheus, without a shadow of a doubt. Prometheus, through the original spelling of the Greek, is the number 48. And again, you know, when you study the mythology, Prometheus is the Titan. Again, the Titan who had the role in creating humanity. Of course, if you're made from the ground, then obviously Hades, Pluto, Prometheus would have a hand in creating you. And then you have the aspect of stealing the fire, which is representing knowledge. Now you're going to get into the tree of knowledge of good and bad and giving it to humans, which is us. Somewhere along the line, someone had to be taught these things of astrology. Where do you think these ideas came from? I broke this all down in Manly P. Hall. The great Manly P. Hall showed you where he got his information from. He got it straight from Lucifer, which is Prometheus. Where do you think I'm getting my information from? Prometheus. This is what this all means right here, ladies and gentlemen. There's nothing to be afraid of it. So, I had a conversation just the other night with Prometheus. That's right, I did. I had a conversation with Prometheus. Now, I don't care if you believe what I'm showing you to be true. I don't care if you think I fabricated this. This is authentic. I am telling you with absolute sincerity, this that I asked right here was an absolute answer I got. This right here is called an application I have on my phone called Galaxy Tarot. And I had a conversation the other night with Prometheus, just me and the energy of Prometheus, wherever it's coming from. And I asked the question, do you prefer to be called Hades or Pluto? And this is the two cards that it presented to me. The Six of Pentacles and the Page of Pentacles. And this is card number 70 and card number 75. And if you add up 70 and 75, you're going to get 145. But before we do that, you'll notice right here, this is Lucifer. This is the original spelling of Lucifer right there. So what does this card in the tarot mean through Prometheus? It's an offer of knowledge, fire. What do you think he's holding in his hand? This is a great artist's rendition of Prometheus right there. This is Lucifer, folks, offering you the wisdom, the knowledge, the fire, the technology, the whole idea of how to build this earth. And then this card right here is the Six of Diamonds, the Six of Pentacles. This one right here is all about giving to people. Hey, look at what the energy is right here. So this is what it gave me. And then the biggest one of them all was right there, because when you add them up, 70 and 75 is 145. Folks, this is all I did was ask the question here. I have a few more to show you, not during tonight's sneak peek of this. But I don't need to describe, like some people may not believe me. I don't care if you believe me or not. This is not AI because my phone didn't have internet that night. And I had a full blown on conversation. And these are very crystal clear. So this is what it's saying. What do you prefer to be called? Prometheus. That's what this is saying. And it represents the growth out of the soil. This right here is the pentacle, which is this right here. But it's also knowledge, wisdom, technology, all that kind of stuff. So here's plutonium, which is tied to Prometheus, starting with the letter P. And the most stable isotope of plutonium is 244. The interesting part about it is it has a half-life, meaning half of it decays in about 80 million years. 80 is tied to the original spelling of Tree of Life. In the Hebrew, the numerology is the number 80. Okay? The tree of life. The tree of life. This gives you life. When you eat it, it gives you energy, but it also makes you break down. It's a double-edged sword, folks. And then when you bring it into the golden ratio, this 244, it occupies digits 79, 80, and 81. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we have both trees here because the tree of life is 80 and the tree of knowledge is 81. If you watched my Cannabis Decoded, I showed how huge thallium was. Thallium means the green shoot, and it's right there, folks, coming out of the ground. You can't get any more clear than that. And then, of course, this right here, 80 and 81 is 161, which is the golden ratio, and now you have gold. Okay, so the whole point of plutonium and Pluto is to not only wipe the board and cause death and regeneration, but it completes the cycle, and it repeats itself over again. And that's the job of Lucifer, Hades, Pluto, Prometheus. That's the job of that. So I'm going to break it down. I'm going to show you now the uncanny, why I feel qualified to tell all of you this. Why I feel qualified, a person who's qualified to show you this information right here. And I don't really show much about myself, but this is pretty much in my face. So here we go. So here's the guy who really kind of started the search for what he called Planet X. Percival Lowell. Which is why the original symbol for Pluto was the P and the L. And then it merged into this, which just means spirit going down into the underworld, which is our reality. And now you contain the cross. This is the physical body. That's what the symbol means. And you'll notice here is his birth to death date. Born on March 13th in Boston, which is not too far from my birth city, and he passed in Flagstaff, Arizona. He has an observatory in there called the Lowell Observatory, which is where Pluto was discovered in 1930. The coordinates of Flagstaff, Arizona is 35 degrees north. Remember what 35 was? Simulation, ecosystem. And then it has 111 for its west longitude. If you take 35 and you add it to 111, you're going to get 146. This is another atomic mass of promethium. Promethium is not natural in our reality. It's a byproduct, so to speak. And then, you also have the link to the black sun. Because you see, he was born on the 13th, he died on the 12th. 13 plus 12 is 25. So the black sun's tied to Pluto, tied to Hades. It's tied to Gaia and Earth because the underworld is part of Earth. Earth does not give off any of its own light, folks. It needs the sun for death and regeneration, for life. And this is where my connection to this gentleman right here and why I feel like I'm perhaps the reincarnation process with this guy. Here I am. Here's his, the P and the L. I've highlighted him in green of his name. My two last names, my birth certificate name is Payette and my mother's maiden name is Labert. And there's the P and the L. Now, I know you're like, oh, well, you're maybe stretching something a little bit. Well, not when you do the birthday to birthday date or the death date to birthday date. He died on a Sunday. I was born on a Sunday. The sun is required in order for life to happen on this planet through the soil and the planting of food, which everything consumes. And it's a span of 283 days. His death date to my birthday, and that's the 61st prime number. And you go right back to that element Prometheus. And how many protons does it have? 61. 61. But wait, there's more. How about the distance between Flagstaff, Arizona and where I was born in Putnam, Connecticut? Like I've shown so many times. The distance, I've got it circled, 2,170.67 miles, bringing that into the string of the golden ratio. Where is it found? In the 389th position. And we go right back, and is it a prime number? Freaking absolutely. It's not only just any prime number, it's the 77th prime number, which is linked to the iris of your eye, which is, if you watch my Hotel Capricorn, which was Hotel California, you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. The 5 band members of the Eagles, when you add up all their birthdays, 77. 77. The Great Dragon got hurled down. That's the sine and cosine wave coming down. It's light coming down here to play the game, folks. That's what this means. So going even further, this iridium is called isotope 193. In science, if it's allowed to round up, in this case it is, 192.962, this is going to be called isotope 193. 193 is also a prime number, which is the 44th, and that leads to plutonium, which is Shiva. So there's another connection. So we have one there. We have one through our birth cities. We have one through our initials, Prometheus. And then how about the address of where Percival was born and the address or the hospital that I was born at. And this is the place he was born. He was born on 131 Tremont Street in Boston. I was born at 320 Pomfret Street, Putnam, Connecticut. The total numerology is 297. Put that into the string of the golden ratio. Occupies digit 545 through 547. 547, another prime number. The 101st prime number. The element that has that 101 is ruthenium, the 44th element, and you go right back to plutonium. You see? Another one. So we have 3 in a row here. 3 in a row. And let's go for a 4th. So how about our life path numbers? In numerology, the life path number is when you take all the digits of your birthday and add them up. Well, Percival has a 26/8. I have a 26/8. And of course, as fate would have it, 101 is the 26 prime number. And you go right back to that ruthenium, and you go right back to plutonium. Okay? The 8th house of astrology, Scorpio. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto and Mars. And here's the coordinates of his death city and where I was born. Flagstaff, 35 and 111. Putnam, 41 and 71. When you add those up, you're going to get 258. The element on the periodic table, which kind of started it all, Mendelevium, the kind of the father of the periodic table, there's that 101 again. Go right back to ruthenium, 44, plutonium. Okay? So there's another one. So we got like 5, 6 in a row here. Let's keep going. And then if you add up the 101 and the 44, you get 145. So you got the 101 for the protons of Mendelevium, and then you have the atomic mass of ruthenium, the 101, And you add the protons of ruthenium and the protons of mendelevium, and you get the 145 promethium. So Pluto is Hades, which is promethium. Okay? They're all connected right there. You can see it in plain sight. And then here is just my coordinates of where my birth city is. If you've been following along, the numbers of Lucifer are 7, 4, and 1. This is why I'm so connected to Lucifer. My birth city, Putnam, is 28. Lucifer is 28. When you add up 41 and 71, it's 112. That's cadmium. 48 for the protons. Prometheus in the original Greek spelling of it. Okay? Where am I getting my information from, ladies and gentlemen? Same place Manly P. Hall's getting his information from. Same place Percival is getting his information from. Okay? Prometheus, Hades, Pluto. That's where it's all coming from. Which you can say it's one half of God because it's death and regeneration, which is God. And here's kind of the kicker right here, ladies and gentlemen. Just to anchor this down to show you that I was supposed to show you this information and I feel qualified to do so. Clyde Tombaugh was the guy who got credited for finding Pluto, discovering it in 1930. Guess what his birthday is? The same as mine. I was born on February 4th. So was he. The lady who was the mathematician who helped predict the existence and location of Pluto, she was born in the same city I was born in, Putnam, Connecticut. There it is. So ladies and gentlemen, you tell me, Putnam, 28, Lucifer, 28, Pluto, 28, plutonium, Hades, promethium. Okay? So I know who I am, what I'm supposed to be doing. I know what my job is. Prometheus, Hades, Pluto, the job is to show, it's going to give you knowledge. That's what I'm doing. I'm providing you as a tour guide. I'm showing you how this reality works. Whatever you want to do with it, that's completely up to you. So here are the two opposites, the sun and Hades. Plutonium, Pluto. You have Helios, 21, the sun. And then you have Hades, 16, and hell. And they form a symbiotic relationship because the sun needs the soil needs the sun to grow your food so you can eat as a human being. And this is where you came from. This is where you will return. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. And you bet your bottom dollar it's tied to Shiva. Hades is Shiva. Shiva is the destroyer. That's what weakens the nations. Theology, Isaiah 14 verses 12. This is what it looks like, ladies and gentlemen. This is real science now. Getting away from anything esoteric or, maybe theoretical here. This is the real deal. This is how an ecosystem works. These are some examples. The carbon cycle, which is what we're made up of, carbon being 6, phosphorus, one of Lucifer's numbers, which is 15, and nitrogen, which is 7, tied to Ra, Lib, Ra. Okay, these are all the cycles of Earth, and this is what gives life to our reality, is the underworld. The next time you pump your gas in your car, you should be giving thanks to the underworld, because without the underworld, you wouldn't be driving your car. Most people don't live their life like that. They're not in a state of gratitude. They're commonly doing their things they need to do because life gets in the way. I get it. When you're out there and you're in the sun and you feel nice and warm, you should be giving thanks to the sun, being grateful. Carbon dioxide, this whole cycle. It's all death and regeneration. You can clearly see simulation 35, ecosystem 35 doesn't get any more in your face than that. It doesn't get any more in your face than that. And to finish this up, here are the 4 most abundant elements in organic matter, which is the soil. Carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen. And just like that, we have the 22. The word natural equals 22. The word organic equals 22. And it's tied to the 22nd element, which is tied to Prometheus, which is tied to the Titans, which is tied to Saturn, Kronos, Father Time. They're all in this together, ladies and gentlemen. All these stories. 22. And then when you bring in the 8 chemical elements that are in the Earth's crust, the 8 chemical elements that are the most abundant in the Earth's crust, oxygen through potassium, when you add them all up, you get 145, which is promethium. So think about what I'm showing you here. Prometheus, Hades, Pluto, the god of the underworld. You can get the fallen angel story in there, the giants that walked the earth, the dinosaurs, if you believe in that. Everything returns to the soil. And this is all about the earth's crust. Right here. These are absolutes. And when you add up these two and you bring them into this reality, I have more to show you. If you liked what you see, when I have this decode coming out, you'll be able to check it all out. Here's plutonium 44. What does it look like in the tarot? Here's the 8 of Cups. This is a spiritual quest. You see, this represents this symbol of Pluto. This is your spirit coming through the portal and being a human being. That's what this means. Spirit saying, hey, I want to go play that game called life. And you now go into the underworld. What is the underworld? You're on it. It's the dirt beneath your feet. The soil that you grow your food from. Next time you go and buy your groceries and you buy your whatever it is you buy that's grown from the earth, you should be grateful that you're getting it. But just remember, ladies and gentlemen, everything you eat makes you decay faster. Food moves the engine, which is your organs that involve digestion, and everything causes friction, which weakens you. That's why it says Lucifer weakens the nations. Beyond the ego, beyond the desires, beyond the theoretical positions of selling your soul and all that stuff, beyond that, this is straight nature here. Okay? And you can see Pluto, Lucifer, Architect, they're all 28. So you have the white sun above your head, that causes photosynthesis, and you have the black sun, which is Earth / Pluto, which is the ground you walk on, which is Mother Nature, Mother Earth. Here's the only scripture in theology in the Old Testament, Judaism, Isaiah 14 verses 12, which is talking about Lucifer, the mention of it. We'll look at the numerology of it, folks. You tell me what Lucifer is. 94, plutonium. What do you think weakens the nations? Plutonium. Shiva, the destroyer. The job of Lucifer, plutonium, Hades, Prometheus, is to not only provide life through the soil. You know what this is right here? A marijuana plant. Because this is tied to thallium and the number 81. And without the ground that you walk on, you don't have the plants and vegetables and all the great fruit that you get and all that and everything, that grass and all the animals that eat it. Without this, life would not work. So I'm not saying go worship Lucifer. I'm not saying to go worship the ground you walk on, but it is one half of life. And you're seeing it right here. But what weakens the nations? Food does. Your desires, what you want to build. The blood, sweat, and tears. It makes you decay quicker as a human being. You're going to face death one day, folks. Here's the connection through Shiva. So, of course, I went to the original language, Sanskrit. Here's Shiva in Sanskrit. Digit 43, digit 44. It's number 87. There's the 223 through the primes, Lucifer's 223. Okay, Francium, France, Paris, the Eiffel Tower, all Lucifer aspects. That's a phallus. Providing energy to the as above. That's for a different story. But here it is through the golden ratio to support that plutonium / Lucifer / Hades / Prometheus is also Shiva the destroyer. Shiva being the 87, underworld 44, plutonium 44. We go 44 digits into the string of the golden ratio. Digit 43, digit 44, it's 91. 91 is Lucifer. Thomas John Ellis Hooper, the actor they casted to play Lucifer, here's his name in numerology, 91. It's right there, 91, folks. Digit 43 and 44, that's where plutonium is. That's where the underworld is. And when you add up all these digits, it's 210. And 210 belongs to this element called radon. This is why Lucifer is known as the son of the morning, because Ra-dawn is another word for the morning time. Ra is the sun, and dawn is another word for the morning time. Ra-dawn, Lucifer. And it needs light in order to survive, folks. That's why this whole show, he was in the underworld. He decided to come up and go to Los Angeles and work for the police department. The human being, I show this in my final boss decoded, folks. These are undeniable here, what you're looking at. And this leads me to, I have 2 more slides. This leads me to the astrological map of the discovery of Pluto. Okay, 1930, February 18th. So let me narrate this for you. I got a lot of stuff going on. Let me just get this bigger. Okay. So right here in the 12th house. Now, I had to do this at 5 p.m. because I went to the story of when Clyde Tombaugh discovered Pluto, and it said that he discovered it in the late afternoon. So at 5 o'clock is like the cutoff time for the late afternoon. So I decided to do it at 5 o'clock, 1700 hours. And it's in Flagstaff of where he discovered it. Remember, 35 degrees north, 111 degrees west, 35 and 111 is 146. Prometheus. February 18th is the 49th day of the year. February 18th, when they discovered it, 49th day of the year. Titanium, one of its atomic masses, 49. The Titan. What do you think Lucifer is? Tied to one of the Titans, which is the fallen angel story. And this is where the Pluto was at this time. Now, the houses may change, but the zodiac signs will not. The nakshatras will not. So Pluto is in Gemini. Of course it is, because Gemini is not only the prison bars, but it's also the representation of the Ida and the Pingala, which is your twin. Okay? It's your twin. It's your mirror. It represents Jesus and Thomas. Thomas is Jesus' twin brother. Thomas is 24. Pluto was at 24 degrees in the sign of Gemini when it was discovered in 1930. Thomas is 24. Pluto is the Titan. Now, to confirm this even more, we come all the way across to the opposite house, house number 6. And what do we have here? Saturn, Kronos. And what does Kronos have for a moon? Titan. So you have Kronos in opposite of Pluto in Gemini. This is the 3-9 axis right here. 39 is the numerology of Lucifer. Okay? These form a symbiotic relationship. And the bigger marker here, this right here, maybe you've never seen it. This right here is the symbol of Sirius. This is the symbol of Sirius. And the symbol of Lucifer fits right over that. Okay? So it fits right over that, folks. And Sirius was right next to Pluto on the discovery in 1930. It was in the 7th nakshatra, and it's the star of renewal. And the deity that rules this nakshatra is the mother, the goddess of earth, harvest, produce. Pluto is the dirt beneath your feet, folks. The nurturing mother. The wealth and the goddess of wealth and abundance. What do you think the earth provides you? Both your egos and your desires, along with whatever you want to consume as an individual through food. It's the goddess of wealth and abundance. This is where Pluto was in the discovery of it in 1930, across from Kronos, who has a moon named Titan. February 18th was the 49th day of the year. Titanium has an atomic mass of 49. And it goes down into the prison bars. Gemini is the 3rd zodiac sign. If you tie that to the elements on the periodic table, it's going to be lithium. They give people lithium that have brain disorders. Bipolar disorders, I feel like all of us are bipolar, just some of us don't have characteristics of it. But bipolar is Ida and Pingala. What we have up here is Rahu in the 10th house of Capricorn. So Saturn's in the 6th house representing carbon. But Capricorn owns the 10th house, which is in Aries, which is the ram. And this right here is where this gets really interesting, because in Hinduism, in Vedic astrology, the 2nd nakshatra called Bharani is Yama, which is Pluto. And there you have it. And you have Chiron there as well, folks. So where's Capricorn? Right here in the 7th house, which is Libra's house, another reference to the sun. And you have Mercury and Mars being the counterpart of Pluto. Right there, right in the same exact nakshatra in the 22nd, and 22 is titanium. So you see, this is how you absolutely read an astrological map. You got to jump around, but the nakshatras, they give you an extension, and then you can tie them to alchemy. And it gives you a much better indication of how this reality works. So again, going here to the 12th house, what's the 12th card? The Hangman. So it's spirit coming down here and now coming into the upside down world, which is, it's a fun way to look at it. We're not really upside down, but it's a fun way to look at that. The Hangman. And across is 6, which is the Lover's card. And that's carbon based. And the tarot card that runs the sign of Gemini, where Pluto was during the discovery, right next to Sirius, is the Empress. And what is the Empress? She's the goddess of wealth and abundance. She's tied to the star of renewal. That's how beautiful tarot fits into the nakshatras right here in Gemini. Because the Empress, and the Empress is Mother Earth. So when Pluto comes down into the hole and lands down here in the 12th house of surrendering, because now it has no choice, but it's enlightened, and it's coming to fulfill its obligation through the Lovers, which is, tied to the house of Virgo. It's now living through and expressing through the Queen, which is the Mother of Earth. In Chinese, it's going to be the tiger. Okay? The tiger. And there are so many other layers to look at this, but to me, this is so easy to see. If you have the eyes to see it, these are all dead ringers showing you and this one, obviously, Sirius at 20 degrees was a humdinger. 20 is representing calcium, which is our bones and teeth. So is Lucifer from Sirius? Are we all from Sirius? Prometheus, the movie, when you go study that, they had to travel, a long way into the future, or a long way into wherever they went to a moon. Then they gave it a numerical number. But ladies and gentlemen, these are absolutes in my book. Hinduism, Yama, Pluto. Pluto is tied to Titan, titanium, down in a hole, coming from Kronos, right across it. Kronos has that Titan moon. Pretty obvious in your face. February 18th, the discovery gate, 49th day of the year. Titanium's got an atomic mass of 49. The latitude, longitude equals 146 promethium. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There you have it. It's obvious here that astrology once again tells the narrative of the story without any hiccups here. Vedic astrology, the true map of the stars. Tropical will have its own say in this, but that moves everything into 24 degrees. It would put Pluto actually in Cancer. So it would change the narrative and you'd have to interpret it that way. I feel like Vedic astrology, sidereal is the root chakra and tropical is the crown, the future, because you're moving 24 degrees. All right, so I'll be going through this again during my presentation of this decode once I finally do, but there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The astrological map for the birth of Pluto. Okay? So that's my little whoops. What is it? There we go. Whoops. Okay, there we go. Woo! All right, so that's my little sneak peek of let's talk about Pluto, Hades, Prometheus. Now you have some ideas that you can take with you and start doing your own decoding, but I would definitely encourage all of you to look at your astrological map. Primarily, I would look at both charts, of course. I'd look at your Vedic sidereal first. That's your root chakra. That's your origin. And then when you go to tropical, that's going to be where you're going 23, 24 degrees moving forward through the equinoxes, the precession of the equinoxes. They both have their say in it, but sidereal is the root. It's the only sidereal is the only system that matches up exactly with the stars right now. Because I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at Stephen, you put it in there. It was stellarium.org. If you go look up the true map of the stars, you know where Pluto's at right now? Capricorn. That's right. If Pluto was in Aquarius, folks, you wouldn't have all these things come into play of technology. Pluto's job is to obviously give birth to things, but it's also designed to remove the dead wood. Capricorn is an earth sign. Everything related to earth, it's being removed. Fiat currency, it's physical, it's being removed. That would not happen if Pluto was in Aquarius. It just wouldn't. And it's in the 21st Nakshatra, which is the world card. It wouldn't look that way if you went and you moved it into Western. Sorry. Those of you that are fans of tropical. I'm a fan of both systems. But I like looking up at the stars and saying, where's the planet at? Well, it's right there. Well, that's what I want to go by. I want to go by what I can see. So Pluto right now is in the world. Right here. It's in Nakshatra called Uttara Ashada, which is the star of the undefeated one. 21 is tied to the world card. This is where Pluto's at right now. So what do you think? What's the job of Pluto right now? To create this. When you get this in a card reading, when you get the world card in a tarot card reading, it means that shit's about to change for you. It's like a level up. Massive change coming down the pike. It's an ending of a cycle, beginning of a cycle. And Pluto's going to be in Capricorn till 2039, which is right around the time of when Jason, big shout out to Jason from A.K.A, right around the time he says the Phoenix event's going to happen. So if that calculation is accurate, if Jason from A.K.A is accurate on his forecast of the Phoenix event, which primarily means the wiping of the board, and the Phoenix event, by the way, is tied to Prometheus. Tied to Prometheus, tied to Hades and Pluto, the underworld. That has a hand in it. The Phoenix starts at the bottom and goes up. So the Phoenix is going to start in the underworld. Well, if the calculations from A.K.A are correct, 2039, 2040, Pluto moves into Aquarius. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, you have a mesh, a great synchronicity of what this world may end up becoming. But right now, Pluto is in Capricorn. And Capricorn is an earth sign, and you're going to start to see things being removed from earth. I have a feeling you're going to see the attributes of people being brought to justice, which I'm going to say I wouldn't be out there cheering because you're giving it energy. Just stay away from that nonsense, that shit show, that movie. You don't want to be a part of that movie. Make your own movie. You should be having people come and watch your movie. That's how you get energy. That's why people will go out there on social media and put themselves out there. Essentially, if you look at your Pluto in your chart, that's a lot of your identity is tied to Pluto. My Pluto is in my 13th nakshatra called Hasta. Here's the 13th card. This is one of the true cards of Pluto. And it's in my 12th house. And it's in Libra. So my job to tell you the story here is this reality, it's a simulation. It's an ecosystem. It's all about death and regeneration, life and death. It's a repeating cycle. It's never ending, by the way, unless something changes on a massive scale. And even if there was a paradise, even if there was the theological paradise, do you mean to tell me no one's going to die anymore? Well, how's it going to work? How would it work? Organisms have to die for this whole entire ecosystem to work. In this physical 3D reality, it does. Maybe if you go into it, maybe the paradise is going to be a digital one. A lot of people would get really pissed off if that would be the case. Oh boy, their hopes and dreams would be shattered, and their beliefs, they would be besides themselves. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's kind of what I got for my sneak peek. Let's talk about Pluto. It's tied to here's our DNA, card 46, tied to that. If you saw my final boss decoded, final boss is the colors of the rainbow. That's you, and the rainbow's right there on the card. 46 card in the deck. but it's pretty obvious that we have Shiva the Destroyer. That's the Tower card. That seems to be coming. Will it dismantle everything all at one time? Probably not. I mean, I think we'll have some major revelations coming. But I can also say that this is another card of Lucifer. Card number 72, the Eight of Pentacles. Sits in the crown line of the card's illumination. This one's very important because Genesis 2 verses 7, which talks about God making man from the dirt, which is the realm of the underworld. Well, that's all about germination. When you plant a seed in the ground, it germinates. The only element on the periodic table that has the word germinate in it is germanium, which is element 32. And the 32. And then the weight of it is 72. And here's the 72nd card. And this card means going to work. It doesn't have to mean physically. If you drop a seed in the ground, what do you think is going to be going to work? The nitrogen, the soil, the things in the soil, the water coming together to make that shoot bust out of the seed and move towards the light. It moves towards the light. We chase the light, folks, but you come from the darkness. You come from the underworld. That's where you're going to return to. You're going to return there. Again, I don't know what happens to the spirit. But I know what happens to the physical body, and you know what happens to the physical body. When you die, you go back to the ground. You go back to the underworld. You go back to Prometheus. You go back to Hades. You go back to Pluto. Whatever you want to call it. Obviously, I showed you it prefers to be called Prometheum or Prometheus. When you go look at, if you study Prometheum, the element, it's not a natural element. It's not on Earth. So it has a massive amount of merit in this whole context of the story. But I just wish really, really that those of you that came here to support this tonight, big shout out to all of you. Big shout out to the moderators, Stephen and Pamela. Hats off to all of you here that actually come here to listen. Again, please be skeptical. Please make the truth your own. Don't take everything I say literally. Go do your own research. At the end of the day, what really is going to be the final boss is you. Your truth is the only thing that matters. I'm just an extra in your movie. That's it. You may get something from what I'm showing you here. It doesn't matter what my job is, how high in the totem pole I may be, how low in the totem pole I may be. My job is not your job. And as I've been doing these readings for people, they'll tell you, like, when I do a reading for somebody, I tell them how special they are and how when they die, that's it, the movie's over. Now, I say to them, it's a contradiction because we know theoretically, right, that the people would go on. But how do you know that people are existing in this reality? Because your eyes are open and your senses are kicked in and involved. That's how important each and every one of you are. But you don't give yourself enough credit. Many of you are going out there and you're doing the blame game, pointing fingers. You're thinking there's a bad guy, there's a boogeyman out to get you. The only competition in your life is staring in the mirror. That's your boogeyman. It's you. That's why I say be the best little devil you can be. You're from the ground, you're going to return to it. That is a 1 + 1 = 2 fact. What happens to the spirit? No clue. But obviously I showed you a big piece of my life and the connecting point to Percival Lowell, who was the guy who started the search for Pluto. I mean, it's pretty clear as day that I may be the reincarnation of that guy. I'm totally okay with it. Totally okay with it, folks. I'm just doing my job. And again, what is Prometheus? What is Hades? What is Pluto? What is Lucifer? Represents knowledge. That's what I'm providing. The tree of knowledge, tree of life and tree of knowledge, one and the same. Don't you want, that's why you're here. You're thirsting for knowledge. You're thirsting for the quest of how this whole shindig works. You're not satisfied with the status quo. You're not satisfied with being somebody who's asleep. That doesn't interest you. You're not fancied around. It doesn't enamor you. So somewhere in your DNA lineage, somewhere in your astrological chart, somewhere in your card of illumination, your birthday, your life path, your enneagram, your personality types, your human design, some of these systems are the reason why you're here. Your quest for this knowledge. And if knowledge is a sin, well, because if you're like me, you want to know how this reality works. I'm after how this reality works. I want to know what makes it work. It's involved in my DNA. Can't help it, really, if I look at it that way. All right, so for a few minutes here, I'm going to look over to your comments and see if any of you here have any comments that I could perhaps entertain here. We're born sinners. We're our own worst boss. You know, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, the whole story of Jesus, what happened to Jesus? He died. He went into the tomb. See, but the thing is no one was there to ever witness if this guy was real. No one. So, and I know it's like then people say, well, where's your faith? The idea makes it real. I love the idea of the Christ. I think it's been butchered. The idea of somebody being that amazing in life and helping people, that's awesome. But what I'm not a fan of is like having to do these rituals and having to put my faith in why would God need to send something to save you? If you remove that whole thing out of the context of the story, how about just being grateful for your life and being grateful to the Creator? That's good enough to me because I don't need a middleman. I feel like we're the middleman. We're the middlewoman. Just be a gratitude junkie. Be the best little devil you can be. Go help people. Go be 51% service to others if you're a fan of the Law of One. Because, you know, Ra's got a big say in this as well. Radium, I showed that in my last decode. Or Scripted Reality 6, I showed how big radium was. Ra could be, you know, Prometheus as well, folks. Could be tied right to that. But I feel like this reality is a incarnation process. And, you know, going back to my 42 decoded, my 42 decoded really kind of said it all. 42 is linked to the element calcium, molybdenum meaning lead. I showed in my 42. If you want to watch a decode after this one here that you haven't watched yet, go watch 42 decoded. I showed in there very clearly the possible scenario of the reincarnation process. And I used the water cycle through nature to show the example that the sun evaporates, the moon condenses, and then it drops the water down and it precipitates down to earth. And what does water do to the ground, the soil, the underworld? It gives energy. It gives life to the plants, where Hades, the domain of Prometheus, is all about, which is the Genesis. Genesis means the seed. What does a seed need? Soil. Primarily, it needs darkness. Some seeds grow on top, but the majority of them are in the ground. It needs darkness, it needs water, and then it needs elements like nitrogen and phosphorus and these other elements on the periodic table. That is what gives life to this planet. And then you have the sun that causes the photosynthesis. And the plants chase that. We chase it. So these are essential, ladies and gentlemen. The black sun to me is the Earth / Pluto / Hades / Prometheus, which is the Genesis, and the sun above, which causes the light and photosynthesis, is a tandem duo. It's a partnership, is what it is. It's a partnership. And you can't have one without the other. You just can't. So when you remove all these ridiculous notions of the devil maybe do the contract with the devil, and it, like all these things that you're paying attention, stop paying attention to them. Just look at nature and you can start to see how this reality works and how much more grateful you're going to be looking down at the dirt next time when your feet are in the dirt and realize, shit, man, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for this. Look into the sky at the sun and thanking the sun. Thank you for your light, because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. And then whatever created that stuff, being grateful about that creator. I think the creator is nameless. I don't think you can name it. That's my personal opinion. But it's time to go celebrate life, ladies and gentlemen. The celebration of life. Christmas. This is the Christmas card. 6 of Cups. It's the card of nostalgia, magic. What do you want to be when you grow up? Next time you celebrate this upcoming Christmas, the very thing on the forefront of your mind, I'm happy to be alive. Let's celebrate life. Let's celebrate my life. Let's celebrate your life. Let's celebrate your family's life, your kids' life. That's the reminder. Forget all the nonsense of the trees and the mistletoe and the presents and Santa and the Grinch and all this stuff that is attached onto what Christmas really means. It means life. Christmas is December 25th and black sun equals 25. Think about that. What I'm telling you, black sun, which is the earth, is 25 in numerology. Christmas is on December 25th. It means you're being born into this world. Santa coming down the chimney, it's spirit coming down through the chimney, which is the portal to get here to give you the gift called life. That's it. Santa Claus 30, Demiurge 30, Jehovah 30. Ensoft's being tied to the 30 in Kabbalah. It's so ridiculously scripted and connected, folks. King Earth, decode my... Everybody, I can't decode everybody's birthday. If you want to decode your birthday, go to it'sallinthecards.com and just type in your birthday. That you'll get your birthday, King Earth. Because once I start decoding people's birthday, everybody's going to want me to jump in, and then I can't get everybody. So... clouds provide the ultimate distillation. The moon is all about water. It's feminine, right? And it controls the tides and the waves, so we're told. It's feminine. It condenses. The sun evaporates, the moon condenses, which provides to the clouds, and they provide precipitation. And the precipitation lands on the earth. Each time it rains, I'm like, there's the Christ feeding the land. The water cycle. Water is 18, Jesus is 18, Christ is 18. Doesn't get any more clear than that. And then now, Pluto was discovered on February 18th. It's a total different game changer, ladies and gentlemen. I have probably 100 slides that I put together. I've been working on this for days and days and days. And I'm lucky to even be here with you. Fortunate, because my internet has been out for like 3 days and I'm piggybacking off my downstairs. No one's there. So I was like, I'm hoping this will get this broadcast done. But what I've been doing in my spare time, making lemonade, going to the beach, putting my feet in the sand, playing tribute to nature, my feet in the ground, realizing that's exactly where I came from and where I'm going to return to. Physically, that is. But life's amazing, ladies and gentlemen. It's beautiful. And if your life is not beautiful, then you got to do whatever it takes to make it beautiful. If I were to look at your entire life, we look at your Pluto. Folks, just look at your Pluto. Look at your sun and then look at your Pluto. Those are the black sun and the white sun. You're going to have your ego and your desires to Pluto also being tied to Rahu and the north and south node of the moon, K2 and Rahu, of course, because that runs your emotions and your ideas and what you get emotionally involved with. But you're also going to have your Pluto, which the precursor to Pluto is Mars. Mars is kind of your drive. So Mars is your anger. Mars is your drive. Pluto is your freaking destroyer. Pluto is going to explode and get the job done. Pluto is complete manifestation. It's the seedling pushing the plant through the soil. That's Pluto. That's Prometheus. That's Hades. That's Lucifer. Pushing the seed into the space where the sun can reach it. That's giving life. That's why a lot of these secret societies, they worship Lucifer, because it's the ground you walk on. And without the ground you walk on, man, you ain't got no life. So that's pretty much its simplest context I can say for you. That's why people worship it. Now, if you go further and you want to bolt on some stuff like selling your soul, and I did this and I did that, and I'm that's ego based. Now you're going into personalities, and now you're getting into desires and all that kind of stuff. And your ego is essential, because if you didn't have an ego, you would be nothing here. Your ego is your drive. It's your desires, which is tied to Pluto, which is tied to Mars, tied to the house of Scorpio. But this is what I would be looking at, ladies and gentlemen. Pluto is your straight up manifestations, and then your sun is your spirit, and they work tandemly. If you have them conjunct, well, then obviously you got to read the energy of that house, what zodiac sign, if there's anything. I mean, always remember, look at the opposite house to see if there's anything opposite, because these work in tandem. House 6 and 12, house 1 and 7, house 3 and 9. But that would be my very big suggestion to all of you. If you want a head start in your reality, go check out where your Pluto's at. Because obviously it represents your ego. Clearly. Rahu and Ketu are the nodes of the moon. So they represent, so you gotta, John Steele, first you gotta look at the moon. What is the job of the moon? Well, the moon in Vedic astrology is one of the most important celestials because it operates your emotions. It's what you get emotionally involved with. It's how you handle yourself emotionally, which is one of the reasons why I said it's tied to you maybe the voice in your head. So the nodes of the moon are very important because you have Rahu, who is the chief of the gods in Vedic astrology, or Hinduism, it's called Indra. And Indra is going to just want everything. And then the opposite of Indra, Rahu, is Ketu. Ketu is your fall guy. Ketu is what you probably were in a past life. Ketu is what you're really good at. Ketu is what you will fall back on when times of trouble enter your life. It's what you're good at. So these play a role. You got to remember, all the celestials, it's like a machine. It's a machine. It's like an androgynous machine. They're all playing their role together. So the nodes of the moon are going to be important, tied to your emotions. But Rahu is like literally the manifestation, the explosion. Again, the seed in the ground, when it pushes through the soil, you have that implosion. That's the underworld. So when you have something manifest, when you get that phone call and you're like, hey, you got your business license, bam, that's your desires coming true. That's plutonium. That's the explosion of it finally. That's the Big Bang in that context. Is its complete manifestation at that point with all the components necessary to fulfill the obligation of that. Is that Chiron K2? Yeah, it's got a little K. The symbol of Chiron has the K with the circle. Pluto and Scorpio. So Maddie says, Pluto and Scorpio, ouch. I would be freaking on cloud 9 if my Pluto was in Scorpio, because that would mean Pluto's at home. See, it's when you know how to use the energy where maybe the free will kicks in. So I'd be rejoicing if I had Pluto in Scorpio because it's at home. Think about it. You go on a long vacation. It's always great to go home. Take a shower in your own shower, sleep in your own bed. Familiar surroundings. Same thing with these celestials. When they're in their domicile house, they're at home. So if Pluto's in Scorpio, man, I'd be rejoicing because it's where it likes to be. You know, remember, Scorpio is the 8th sign and 19 is the 8th prime number. So 19 is the spirit card. So essentially, Pluto's tied to the sun. So the sun and Pluto is Pluto's the underworld. The sun is the as above. The white sun, and Pluto, Earth, is the black sun. And they feed off one another. You can't have one without the other. Just like it's night, it's dark, it's nighttime out here. It's 10:30 at night here in Mexico. Well, I know that when I wake up tomorrow, it's going to be light. And just like that, we have the checkerboard floor. We have the black and the white. Just right there, just like an observing nature. Pretty easy to see. Right now, what you're looking at is yang energy. This whole presentation, pretty much, you had some black in there, but right now I'm giving you yang energy. It's yang, masculine, drive, testosterone, the drive of everything here. You know, I mean, this day picked me. My Pluto's in my 13th nakshatra. Today is the 13th. It's May 13th. It's the 513, the permutation of the 153, which is tied to the fish and the Christ story. I didn't plan this. Just so happened that this Saturday fell on this day today. It chose me. It planned it out for me. What is it? It's the supernatural. It's a working mechanism, an organism. It's a live organism, and it uses everything it wants. That's the way I feel reality works. I've supported it in so many decodes now. And that's my final answer. Unless somebody shows me a completely different way in the order of things. Natural order in numerology is 42. That's right. The numerology of natural order, the natural order of things, natural order is 42. Why? Why 42? Because it's tied to calcium. Calcium's in our bones and teeth. The natural order of our reality is death and regeneration, ladies and gentlemen. One day you will die. And you'll face it. And that's just the way, that's something that is a factoid for everybody here. And then we don't know what happens after that. See, I believe in reincarnation. I mean, I gave you some support tonight. Maybe you can find some stuff in your life, but pretty undeniable for me. For this whole, let's talk about Pluto /Hades /Prometheus. Pluto made of water? Well, I think it would contain, I mean, the organic soil and the Earth's crust has some of the components that make up water, hydrogen and oxygen. So you need that for the soil to work. So yeah, Pluto would be made up of water, of course. Can fit in there. So a lot of you are like, I don't know what this distilled thing is. So here's my take on water. So I'm just going to go to nature. I was going to go to nature. If you collected water just from the rainwater, it could be acid forming, right? But let's talk about how lakes and streams get their water. Well, it's obviously going to come down from the sky, but it also will land on the mountaintops. It will run through creeks and riverbeds, and it will collect through the sediment, and you'll now get the natural elements of those rocks and stones, which go back to the soil, which go back to plutonium, Pluto, Hades, Prometheus, et cetera, the natural order, the organic. So water, to me, spring water is just as good as distilled. I don't think there's going to be, you can argue it both ways, but nature, when water comes down into the rivers, lakes, and oceans, it's going to have rock that is going to be intertwined, and rock contains minerals, which makes it non-distilled at that point. That's my take on it. I look to nature. I don't look to distill it, like distillers and like if you go back 500, if you go back to 100 years ago, there was no, they probably didn't have distiller machines, these advanced distiller machines. You can put water on a stove and heat it up and boil it. You can make distilled water, but that's like an extra step. You get water in a well, you pull it up, you drink it. That's it. That's organic. That's natural. If you have to do a further step to it, well, I mean, that's fine too, but I think water can go both ways. But again, I mean, I don't know how we got on this topic. Well, I guess because water, we were talking about it, but whatever you believe, folks, if you think distilled water is the way to go do that. Personally, I think the hydrogen machine, the Lord's hydrogen machine, adding molecular hydrogen to water is a really good idea. It's a little expensive, but if your budget can permit a hydrogen machine, and hydrogen's tied to the soil, tied to the sun, that would be my go-to. Molecular hydrogen water. If you want a booster in your water, besides just regular water. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so that's pretty much it. Just remember, man, a lot of these elements on the periodic table, magnesium, selenium, boron, copper, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur. These are all found in the soil. These are all part of the underworld, Pluto, Hades, Prometheus. This is how you get a lot of your food. So it's removing all the ridiculous stories that have been bolted on to nature. Christmas, again, is another good one. Forget all the customs. And it's pagan this, and my religion said it's this, and forget all that. You're bolting things on to what it really means. The true essence of Christmas, celebrating your life. That's what it means. If you look to the stars, it's the sun going 1 degree above the ecliptic. And that's the celebration of the sun being born again. As above, so below. There's no Christmas trees up in the sun. There's no mistletoe. There's nobody kissing anybody up there. There's no Santa Claus up there. There's no reindeer up there. Okay? Human beings just bolt all that stuff on. That's it. So a lot of these elements that I showed, that I've been showing, tying it to numerology, the reason why it works into the golden ratio, the goldens from the sun, is because it's nature, folks. It's nature. It's part of the source code. That's it. So when you break it all down and you strip away all the nonsensical stories, you're like, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the dirt your feet stand on. Genesis 2 verses 7. If you're a fan of theology, Genesis meaning the seed. So Genesis means. Genesis in numerology equals 25, by the way. Black sun in numerology equals 25. Christmas is on the 25th. Need I say more? 25th element, manganese. In your food. It's an element in the food. Tied to the black sun, which is Earth, folks. Which is the underworld, Pluto, the whole shebang. All of it. Okay? Yes, I have seen the movie Pi many times. I've decoded it. I have it in one of my decodes somewhere. I just didn't do a full decode on it. The guy who created that also created Black Swan. The director, he's a king of diamonds. Tied to Lucifer. 39th card in the deck. Lucifer's 39 in numerology. Pi's tied to Earth. Pi is the perfect circle. Earth is the perfect circle. That's right, Aaron G. The golden ratio is the pure positive energy. It's the creative force. Absolutely. The golden ratio fits inside your brain, right over top of your brain, which is the all-seeing eye of Horus in your brain. Which is, there's no light inside your head. It's all dark in there, by the way. Saint Supreme. Albert Einstein was born on Pi Day. That's right. And what's interesting is Albert Einstein has an element named after him called Einsteinium. Einsteinium. And that element, as I'll be showing in my decode of Prometheus, Pluto, Hades, is going to be tied to the 4 most abundant elements in the soil. Oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, and oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen. What's the 4th one? I can't think of the fourth one off the top of my head. Those four, when you add them up, equal 42.99. 42 is natural order. 42 is life, the universe is everything. It's 42.99. On the backside of the decimal, 99 is Einsteinium. And when you add up all 8 of the organic crust, it's going to tie to Einsteinium, 252. Einsteinium, 99, and 42 from molybdenum. That's going to be tied right to the organic side of things in life. The Earth's crust, the organic soil, all that stuff is tied to those 2 elements, and you add them all up, along with calcium, which is what our bones and teeth are made up of. Patrick, you're funny. Connect with me. I'll show you the facts. You'll show me your facts. I'm sure your facts are amazing. I've studied water. So many different ways. I study nature. I'm sure you got some amazing stuff, Patrick. Just go do you, right? I got a lot of stuff that I'm involved in right now. I'm not really ready to take on any new projects or anything like that. So, but I appreciate you being here. Most foods are extremely depleted of mineral. Yeah, a lot of foods, because the soil we're at the end of an age, ladies and gentlemen. So when you're at the end of an age, you have an increase in violence. You have an increase in craziness. I mean, you have an increase in absurd things that happen on the world stage that are like, are you serious? That's not even a real story. There's no way that can happen, because it's becoming very illusory now. That's telling you that you're getting to the end of something for a new beginning to step in. So regeneration has to happen. How that looks, well, but I can tell you the ground you walk on, you're walking on dead things, dead people, dead giants, dead bones, dead tissue. That's where you grow your food from. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for tonight. I really appreciate you being here and supporting this channel. This was kind of a fun one. I'm so grateful that we got to get all the way through this. Didn't think I was going to, but as fate would have it, we did. So, all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for Let's Talk About Pluto. Let's talk about Hades. Let's talk about Prometheus. All of them tied together. Now you know, and how valuable the Earth is for all of us. So let's pick a song out here to end this presentation. What do I want to play here? I don't know. Actually, let's play this song right here. Let's do a little bit of house music. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. So this is the great DJ Tin Liquor. This is called Be Here and Now. Great song, 3 minutes and 30 seconds long. I just picked it because I like the song. But ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for Let's Talk About Pluto, Hades, Prometheus. I appreciate each and every one of you for your support, your love, your kindness, sending you a ton of energy here from the Caribbean in Mexico, the amazing country of Mexico. Till next time, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you later.
you hear me